This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade, it's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Welcome, everyone, to the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and together we'll embark on a weekly journey connecting with extraordinary hikers from all corners of the U.S. and beyond. As a warm embrace of summer envelops the Northern Hemisphere, we've had the privilege of conversing with remarkable individuals throughout this season. Their experiences and adventures will leave you yearning to hit the trails. On today's episode, we have an amazing guest. Get ready to travel around the globe as we chat with PJ. If you want to keep up with his amazing hiking and traveling adventures, make sure to follow him on Instagram at pj.forgione. During our conversation, I had the opportunity to learn about PJ's amazing travel experiences, both domestically and abroad. He shares his love for the Pacific Northwest, his incredible cruise around South America, and what it's like backpacking in the Enchantments. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with our guest, PJ. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm excited to be bringing you another person from the Pacific Northwest. His name is PJ, and he's had some amazing adventures over the years, and I'm really excited to talk to him about all that he's seen and hiked and done. Thank you, PJ, for coming on the podcast this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. This feels like an awesome thing. I love that you're doing it, so I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. You know, we always like to start off by asking guests how they got started hiking and how long they've been doing it for.
Yeah, absolutely. So how I got started hiking, I think I really kind of woke up my love of the outdoors, if you will, when I first moved to Seattle in 2006. That was, coming from the East Coast. That was, there's so many trails here and so much outdoors thing. Like, it's hard to not be participating in it sometimes. But it is, I would say then is when it really started. That first year, I kind of fell in love with things, and then it never stopped. And I don't think it's going to.
And, it's hard to make you choose your favorite place in our state or in our region, but I'd like to pose the scenario. If you had an unexpected free day, where are you going to go hike in and around Seattle?
Yeah, it kind of depends, I think, if it's like an unexpected free weekend day. Is it unexpected free weekday where there's kind of less traffic? As I said, there's so much here, so it's pretty awesome to get out there. I really, really love kind of the Cascades area. I'm always in that part of town, and it's so easy to get there, right? And it kind of stretches both sides of the highways and all the things. But yes, I'm in that area quite a bit, obviously. And I know we're going to talk about the Enchantments later. That is definitely a big area, but I do try to avoid that on weekends and the higher traffic times if I'm just doing a part of it as a little day hike or whatever. But certainly the overnights there, if you can score a permit.
And let's give you a little bit more time. So let's say you did have a free weekend and you're able to travel a road trip across the region. Where are you going to be heading up to go hike?
Ooh, that's interesting. So one area that I really like in kind of a weekend distance is kind of the Columbia River Gorge area. And that is, there's so much there, so many trails, and that gorge is just incredible. But I mean, Pacific Northwest, there's things like all over the place. I do have a camper van. I love to get out there and use that. And it makes like getting to the trails for weekends, etc., pretty doable.
Okay.
This past fall, I did the North Cascades actually, and like slept in the Maple Loop Pass, and that was just amazing.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot because I love the Columbia River Gorge too. And I think, in my personal opinion, best spring flowers and best place to go find waterfalls.
Ooh, I do think it is up there. So I love actually the like wildflowers at Mount Rainier. That obviously, like you can't discredit that. It's a national park for a reason.
Outside of the Pacific Northwest, you've done some amazing trips to different places, both domestically and abroad. So I did want to ask, what's one place that left a lasting impression pre-pandemic for you here in the United States, and also one abroad? And then what's one place since things opened back up?
It's an interesting question, actually. Being someone who's so like outdoorsy and travel focused and adventure focused, like that was a really hard time in that aspect when everything was shut down. Hard time in general, but that was certainly a really hard time. So one, like before the pandemic, my last big international trip, it was a cruise around like the coast of South America, which was really cool. But the part of that was probably the most exciting for me was Peru, which I know is having not the best political time right now, but the areas of Peru, like I did Rainbow Mountain, and that was amazing. And then Machu Picchu as well. So both of those I loved, and will have like forever stories for me. And I did it as like a solo part of the journey. I was super into that area. I want to get back to Peru soon. Domestically, I've done a lot domestically as well. I've been in 48 states now. There are obviously like the national parks are great, right? Like I think probably my favorite national parks is the Big Five in Utah, because that, there's 5 there and that's awesome. And like just those little towns, those are so my people, and they're everywhere, hanging out in their vans and stuff. So that is certainly a special place for me. I think post-pandemic, right? Like as the world is kind of coming back to life, I can tell you, I think I'm going to end up in Switzerland this summer and have a couple days in the mountains out there. So we'll count that one as a thing, but I'm still kind of like working towards the logistics of all of that. So maybe subject to change, hopefully not.
That's exciting.
And in the States, what am I looking forward to in the States? I'm still kind of hoping I get back to the Enchantments this summer, and like I can figure that out for more than a day hike. The Enchantments are such a great place.
No, yeah, they are truly amazing. So I did want to follow up. What are the 2 states that are missing from the checkoff list?
Louisiana and Arkansas.
Wow, okay.
Which is very interesting. Hopefully there's going to be a Louisiana Mardi Gras trip for my 40th birthday. And I feel like they're kind of close together in the part of the world they're in. So if I'm going to Louisiana, I've got to just pop over and get to Arkansas. I would love to actually like get to spend some time in the Ozarks and such too.
I'm excited to see if you do get to do some hiking in Switzerland. We just had a guest that did, I'm blanking on the name, but it's a popular through hike that takes them through Italy, Switzerland, and France.
I don't know which trail it is, but there's some great stuff over there.
Yeah.
Was actually pretty lucky. As part of my study abroad for my MBA, like we went and hiked through the Dolomites, which that was, maybe we put that on the like lasting memories as well. But that was like before my Instagram account, right? I got to dig out the old digital camera and get the files converted still and all of that.
Now, bringing it back to the Pacific Northwest, one place that caught my eye that you visited that I feel like it's still an underrated or maybe even unknown part of the state, but you got a chance to visit Goldmire Hot Springs, which is about 2 hours east of Seattle. How was it hiking out to the hot springs? Because back in the day when I visited, you could still drive to kind of cut the hike in half, but I hear that the road's kind of rough.
The road is kind of rough. The road was actually closed when I was there because there was a lot of snow. That was actually a very interesting day. That was one of those days of like, okay, I just need to like get away from everything and then get outside, right? Self-care days, as I call them. That was a great day. The road was closed and it was the hike in. That hot springs is interesting. It's a private hot springs, which is you have to have the permit to even get anywhere near the land. But It's small, but hot springs, you can't go wrong with hot springs, period. It is clothing optional, which I know is not for everyone, but it was a beautiful area for sure. And our group had it to ourselves, right? Like it was like empty midday, midweek kind of thing, which is great. I think there was maybe one other group that showed up at some point. There was at the time 3 separate little pools there. Now I think the top one is still closed, or at least was closed during part of the pandemic. I'm not sure if they've reopened that or any of that. I've done a lot of hot springs. I'm very fortunate. I don't know that I would put that one on like my favorite list just because it's small, right? But like with the smallness and the permits required in the private land, you get a chance to like have it more peacefully, which I love.
Some of the pictures from your hike in were gorgeous because everything was covered in snow.
The snow-covered bridge, like I love that picture. I know exactly which one you're talking about. It is one of my favorite pictures, and it is a gorgeous area. But when you do a lot of hot springs, you kind of start to compare them all. I don't want to like talk it down or anything. And I know you had a question on Banff, and there's some hot springs up there I love as well.
Have you had a chance to visit the other hot spring in Washington off Stevens Pass?
I have not yet. I should look into that. Maybe it's okay that I don't know that. Driving tons of crowds to it.
That one also, it's another privately owned one that you have to get permits in. And it's quite the trek, but there's a third hot spring in the North Cascades that is maybe a 2-day hike in to reach. And it's, undeveloped.
Untouched. Yeah. That area is so remote. North Cascades is amazing. I have taken the ferry over to like the entrance of the actual park, not just like the tourist entrance. So getting to the actual park entrance off Stehekin there, such a great spot.
And you mentioned it already, but in my personal opinion, PJ, to this day, Banff National Park is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in person. And I know you've been there a few times. What's been your experience visiting Banff, especially in the winter? Because it just looks like it takes it up to another level in the winter.
It really does. Like that part of the world, first off, that part of the world is very easy to get to from here. But like, I don't hear a ton of people talking about that. Like that is a very quick, like nonstop flight from Alaska Airlines. Like I loved it, right? Like it is great. Those mountains are rugged and like, it just feels so remote and like in the middle of it all. There's great little villages there, and like you're walking down the street and here comes a giant moose. It's so cool to see that. I really loved it. I did kind of one of the hikes up under, I don't recall the name directly. I should have looked that up. Under the gondola up to the top. Did that hike. It was very cool. And then obviously like anything up there, right? It's just magnificent. And going in the winter, like the hot springs were that much more pronounced, right? It was amazing. I love Banff.
So when I went to the commercial hot springs that's basically like a swimming pool. Did you go to that one as well?
Same. And it's interesting that like the hot springs concept, and I'm sure people have both sides of this opinion, that kind of helps the community too, because you're then paying to get in and the resort fees and all of that stuff. But it also makes it like way bigger and more resorty and all of that stuff. But that commercial hot spring was amazing. I loved it, especially after like skiing all day and then going.
Talking about traveling and going further north, you had a chance to visit and explore another country that I think it's just so beautiful in its landscape, and that's Iceland. Can you share a little bit about your travel experience and maybe a memorable moment there?
Iceland was incredible. Everyone should go to Iceland, 100%. I was really hoping to get to see the Northern Lights first and foremost, but I was there in the summer. And no dice on that because there was no midnight. There was no like dark sky, right? You're not seeing it. No way. But I got to do like the Golden Circle tour and those waterfalls, like, and it's everywhere you look is just, it kind of feels like you're on a different planet, like filming like one of the like Martian movies or something everywhere.
Did you get a chance to see any active volcanoes when you were there?
Did see one. So we did the Golden Circle tour. It was like a bus tour, kind of like the big spots of the island. I will have to go back and check out the specifics on that. Gildafoss waterfall? I think it's the big one. And I did not see like the active lava area, but there was like obviously lava everywhere. And it was cool to just be in it. And yeah, it really kind of felt like another planet. And I hope I get to go back there someday. And speaking of the commercialized hot springs, like obviously the Blue Lagoon
That's right.
is kind of like one of the world's biggest hot springs, if you will, or most known, I suppose. That was also incredible. It's interesting because that is like kind of closer to the airport. So you get there and you're like, oh, like I could plan this first and do like a quick little stop here and then get into like the town to stay in and all of that. There's no wrong choices in Iceland. Go. Everyone should go.
And, I feel like the Blue Lagoon is one of those places that really blew up over social media. Did you see a big crowd there because it is so close to the airport?
It was definitely packed. Yes, absolutely. So I went probably, that was 2017 or 2018, I believe. And it was definitely packed. I'm sure it's even more so now, like as people are coming back to travel post-pandemic and all of the things. But I don't think it's very commonly known, like the difficulties of getting around that area and like to and from the airport. So it's one of those things of like plan in advance, all of those things.
Let's continue across the Atlantic. We had a guest that...
Going on a world tour here. I love it.
Yeah, we're going to circle all the way around. We had a guest in season 2 that basically had the Lake District National Park in her backyard. And the other one that the UK is also known for is Snowdonia. And you had a chance to visit it. How was it visiting that beautiful national park?
It was incredible. And my friend had to drive because it was like stick shift. So there's that. It was interesting to get there. One thing I remember probably more than anything else about Snowdonia is like I was there in November. It was the coldest I've ever been in a while. And some of my pictures actually, like you see, I've got like the turtleneck pulled up and everything. I was very cold. And that is very memorable, like stopping and buying more gloves kind of thing. But it was beautiful. There were like crazy waterfalls and hikes all throughout there. And just driving through it, we kind of caught it on like a storm break day. And it was just views for days and like wanting to stop and pull over everywhere to take pictures. I'm very fortunate I got to go. I wish it was a little less cold when I was there. Or I was more prepared for that, right? Like I was traveling, so I had limited gear with me in that case, but we made it work and had a great time with it. So
yeah, your pictures are beautiful. And I think especially the UK, here in Washington, everybody wants to take the picture when the mountain's out. But Snowdonia and the Lake District, I think they're one of those few places where they're actually a little bit more beautiful when it is stormy and gloomy.
And I think the stormy and gloomy, like I kind of love those days because like you get like the dramatic clouds and all of that stuff. And it was just awesome. And it's very remote. Like we went from the Wales side of it, but it was incredible.
Definitely it's gone up in my bucket list to visit.
Yeah, it's effort, but it's worth the effort for sure. I remember the lakes and it's so rugged again, and it's just northern and up there, but bring extra gloves is what I would say, so you don't have to buy new ones.
Now, we're going to swing things down around and kind of touch base on what you've already shared with us, but you did an amazing cruise to South America, and you hit up some amazing places. How did the trip come about, and what are some of the more memorable hikes that you did?
Yes, that was a great trip for sure. And it came about, I had a friend who was working on a cruise ship at the time. So it was like the deep discount was there, which is great. And it was one of those things I was like, I'm not saying no to this. Like, there's no way I'm saying no to this. I was kind of bummed because part of the trip, like the weather got canceled and like the cruise company would have gone to Antarctica if I had done the itinerary before, but I didn't get to do that one. So I don't have that bucket list item checked yet. I feel like I'm going to make that happen at some point for sure. And then all around there, it was crazy. Like I did do a hike in Argentina, and I was at like the most southern, like hiking around through the world's most southern ski resort, and off season, of course. So there was no snow, but it was awesome to get to kind of like hike through there and all of that. I did go down a couple summers ago separate from the cruise and got to ski in the Andes. And that was like nothing I'd ever seen before. So that was very cool. I love South America in general. It's amazing.
PJ, where was your, I guess, like port of entry? Like where did you have to go to catch the cruise ship?
Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires?
So Buenos Aires to Lima is what the like official itinerary was. That's where I got off, and then I went and did the Machu Picchu area. But that was like solo after being like stuck on the cruise ship for 2.5 weeks, and I had solo time and just like in Machu Picchu doing my thing. Machu Picchu has definitely, like I said earlier, the special spot in my heart for sure, and Rainbow Mountain, which is there, and all of those things. Rainbow Mountain was an interesting story because you get to Cusco, there's a drastic elevation change, and I did it like 5 a.m. the next morning after I got there. Was when the shuttle picked me up, and definitely got car sick on the drive to the trail. And then it was like a crazy ascending hike from there, but that was amazing.
You know, I feel like it's one of those places where the pictures make it look spectacular, but the colors in person drastically different.
There were a lot of people there, and it's interesting because I've seen that mountain in pictures and stuff with snow on some of it, where it kind of takes away from that, right? Because of the colors and the minerals that are all kind of like filtering out. I caught it on like a clear blue sky day, which knock on wood, I was so thankful for. But definitely, like I want to emphasize that's a hard hike. Like, and the elevation and all of the things, like for me to get car sick, like from the little shuttle bus, and then you have to like stop the driver in my broken Spanish. It was a whole experience for sure.
Well worth it though. Well worth it.
Well worth it.
Now let's bring it back stateside. And, you know, one thing that really caught my attention that I'd like to, you know, take a deep dive with you is about a year ago, you got to do the Tahoe Rim Trail. Was that your first through hike?
Yeah, absolutely. I have so much to say on this topic. That has always been kind of one of the bucket list things for me. My friends and I had a ski lease in 2014 in Lake Tahoe. And so I had seen the trail, you know, just being there. You're like, Tahoe Rim Trail, what's this all about? Reading, researching, but obviously like not hikeable in the winter. I was going to do it I moved back mid-pandemic. I should clarify that. I was going to do it in 2020, waited too long, and then Tahoe was on fire that year with the Caldor fire. And that was a crazy experience being evacuated with that and that stuff. We can definitely go into that if you want. I actually have a blog post coming out on all of this with Osprey packs because after I was evacuated and did it again, I was selected to represent the Through Hike Syndicate program as an ambassador, which I was very fortunate on Instagram, and got connected with some great gear to kind of like take out into the trails and all of the things and showcase diversity on the trails. So that is great. So there's a blog post coming out on that, but the Rim Trail itself is really magical. It was actually 1 year ago this week that I was trying to get out on the trail again, because after the fire evacuation, I was like, no, I got to go early. And then there's like the Tahoe Rim Trail Association was like, no way, you're not going yet. Don't do this. Just wait. And then it's 170 miles. Major did over 100 of it total. It's incredible. It was like the days switch between like vast wildflower fields and, you know, crazy mountains and Lake Tahoe view. And I was living there at the time. So this was all kind of my backyard. The other area, Desolation Wilderness, is just amazing. One of my favorite things ever, for sure.
Definitely. Once the blog post goes live, please send it our way. We'll include it in your episode show notes. You know, for me, PJ, my first time visiting Tahoe was last year, and I loved it so much that I'm going back again this summer. And Tahoe, it's so drastic in the sense that, you know, it has those crazy winters like it did this year, but then the fire season as well.
It is wild. I have a lot of opinions on this topic living there for so long, but I mean, like, we should talk about the climate change aspects of it, right? Like it is impacting that part of the world. The wildfire came 2 miles from my cabin that I was staying in. Then I was in my Jeep for 3 weeks. Like just it's there. And that was one of the biggest fires in California's history, I believe. And it was not great to be a part of that. But then like seeing the impacts directly to the trails and such, like I have a bunch of pictures and like just walking through the section of the Tahoe Rim Trail that closed really kind of emphasizes like not only the fire safety and all of that, but also the trail restoration. And shout out to the Tahoe Rim Trail Association, because like in one season, it was still obviously like burnt and out of shape, but they had done a great job. And I raised a little bit of money for them as part of my hike. I support those organizations 100%. It's so needed.
Right on. And for your experience on the Tahoe Rim Trail, PJ, how many days did it take you to cover the lake?
I did 10 days total. There was one section of the trail where I woke up at like a beautiful campsite overlooking the lake and still in cell phone service. So I was kind of checking trail conditions, all this stuff. And it came up that one of the prior night, a group had to be like snowmobile rescued off. And I had to make the call. I was like, you know what? I don't necessarily need to do this because it's on the detour road anyway, if people are being snowmobile rescued off.
Sure.
So got to get back and check that off later. The advantages of being local there for sure. But 10 days total. It was awesome. I'm very fortunate to have represented Through Hike Syndicate.
I think one thing that's popular for especially visitors is the bears in and around Tahoe. Did you get a chance to see any bears when you were on the trail?
Yeah, like literally on the trail. At one point, I had a friend who was going to hike up from one of the trailheads that I was like the rest area at, hike up. And he was maybe 400, 500 feet from the trailhead. And there was just a bear like sitting there on his hind legs. My friend thought it was a statue. So then I'm like clapping rocks as I'm getting down there and everything. It's definitely out there. One night, my tent, like there was definitely rumblings outside. Like the whole trail needs the bear safety cans, 100%. But that is a realistic thing and even living in Tahoe too, right? Not even on the trail. Like I came home one night from like a Taco Bell run and there was a 400-pound bear sitting in my driveway. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. You know what's funny, PJ, is both on my visits to Banff and to Tahoe, you know, it's one of those things that I want to see a bear just to see it, but at a safe distance. Like I don't want to unexpectedly come about one and surprise it.
In Tahoe, like it's pretty commonly known that the bears are pretty afraid of you and they're not messing with you really because they are black bears. They're not really messing with you, but you know, it's still like intimidating because here it is this like really big thing in front of you.
Yeah.
So the intimidation is real.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned it earlier on in the episode, and it's one thing that I'm really excited to talk to you about is the Enchantments. I was actually able to score a permit this year, and you've scored permits in the past. For listeners that don't know about the Enchantments, are you able to describe the hike, and then what's your hiking experience?
So it's very interesting because it's 18 miles, but it has really popular hike for Washington, and those permits are coveted. So well done on getting one. It's this remote part of Washington where, you know, it's just past the little like German town of Leavenworth, and that's always a special place too. You gotta show love for Leavenworth. But the Enchantments are, you know, it's a tough hike for sure, especially if you're not doing it as an overnight and just doing it as a through hike. But there's 5 different areas where you can stay. Kind of the most well known is the core enchantment zone, and that's up at the top of it. So it's kind of like the middle of it, if you will. And you hike up there, and then it's just like beautiful granite and swooping views of alpine lakes and everything. And it's an amazing place for sure.
So one place that I think is the most daunting part, and I'd like to get your advice on it, is Asgard Pass. So we're going to go to Kolchak, camp overnight, and then hike Asgard in the morning. How was it hiking either up or down Asgard Pass on your trips?
So I went up Asgard in a rainstorm, which was amazing. Can I ask when your permits are?
Beginning of August. I think it's August 11th.
So you'll be in the like hot part of Washington then, but it's amazing. So the thing, Kolchak is awesome too. That is a very popular, because that's like the easy day segment of it. I shouldn't use the word easy. That's not true. But I mean, compared to Asgard Pass, getting to Kolchak is probably a little bit on the easier side. Asgard Pass is interesting, especially in a rainstorm. And that is just like, it is up and that's how it goes. And you're backpacking, so you're carrying all of your gear. And it was windy during the rain and all of that. You can actually go a little bit up on top of Asgard too, into what I believe is called Dragon's Tail Pass to get even further. But like, it's just views of Lake Kolchak for days and it's incredible. It is obviously very like not here is a dirt trail kind of thing. It's very rugged. It's very easy to lose the trail. So you have to kind of stay in the main area there. And then you get there and you're at the core enchantment zone and it's all like, here's all the lakes. And the sunsets and the sunrises. You're going to have a great time. I'm excited you're going. I'm jealous you're going, but I'm excited for you.
Same here. You know, I've in the past, I tried for permits and never got them. And I was shocked that I got one this year. But for listeners that don't know, so Asgard Pass, I want to say it's less than a mile, but it's like, I want to say close to 2,000 feet of elevation gain in that short mile. But then it opens up into the core enchantments.
Into just the core enchantments, and it's just Alpine Lake after Alpine Lake everywhere, and it's wide open. And I know a lot of people have frustrations with not getting the permits, but like this is one area of the state where I really appreciate the permit structure because that area is so beautiful. If it was overcrowded and stuff, it would start to get less so, right? You have to be taking care of and conserving these places. And then what I should say, right? So I assume you're doing the through hike and not coming back down to Kolchak. Yeah. So I hope you have a couple days and then like you'll get to the Snow Lake side of things after the core and everything. That's amazing too. And the views, because then you're coming down at them. So it really opens up. And what I want to say is like, you think like because you're going down and like you've done it all and it's easier, but it's definitely like still the hike down because you're carrying all the gear, everything. It's one of those things of like, oh, cool, this is beautiful. But like you do get to the point you're like, the car is so close, but so far away.
Yeah, I think that is probably the most common thing I've seen in my research, PJ, is people coming down from Snow Lake. They can see their car and think, okay, it's there, but then it's still like 2-3 miles.
It's still a slog and you're carrying your gear and you're tired. Hopefully, because you're in August, like maybe you'll get to see like some of the early colors. The enchantments are also like that area is incredible, like early fall. And then are you doing the shuttle thing or do you have a group that can leave a car at one area? How are you?
Yeah, we're doing a group trip. So we're going to take everybody, park the car at Kolchak and then park a car on Icicle Road. I forgot what the trailhead is there, the Snow Lake trailhead, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's the most common way. You're going to have a great time. I'm so jealous. But I have a feeling I will be back up there anyway, even if it's just for like a couple day hikes. Maybe I'll even try to like push through and do it all in one day because that doesn't need the permit, but that probably feels kind of sporty too.
Yeah, 2 of my group members that are doing it, that's how they've done it in the past, is they'll do it in a single day. And I know because of the permit, it's the only way, but that just seems like quite the slog.
It is a slog for sure, but without the weight of the pack, it helps pretty significantly. And then like as you're doing the backpacking, you'll see all the like day hikers doing it and you're like, oh, you're not wearing a pack. And then you're all frustrated at them and jealous of them. And it's a fun time. And then of course you have to stop for celebratory beers or whatever in Leavenworth, and Icicle Brewing is up there, all of the things. And it's a whole vibe. So
yeah, definitely. And you know, one thing that I think the enchantments are popular, and even Kolchak Lake, is the mountain goats. And you captured a mountain goat that seemed like he was modeling for you, the way he posed and looked.
They just like, you turn the corner and there's the mountain goats. And like, I think probably by August, you probably won't get to see too many babies, but like you'll see the baby goats as well. And they're usually not dangerous, but they like to drink pee, which is a really weird thing to be talking about on camera. So you have to kind of watch that for sure. And then they'll get into fighting with each other, but they're beautiful. But like you see it for the first time.
And they are something else when it comes to rock climbing. I wish I had their agility to get up to certain places.
Yeah. And then like you'll see them just like leave and see the same ones a couple hours later in like new elevations and everything. That it's pretty rugged. So they can do some cool stuff. And give me some goat hooves, I guess.
Well, you have a very special hiking partner, and he actually showed up right before we started recording, and he comes up on your IG feed a lot. He's a good-looking black lab by the name of Major. Can you share a little bit about Major and how he does on the trails?
Major does great on the trails. He loves it. You know, as much as I can be off trail on leash, that's kind of what I aim for, because I know he can listen to me and come back and all of the things. He did 100 miles of the Tahoe Rim Trail with me, which is amazing. Not everywhere can be off leash though. So I want to make sure, like, gotta respect what's cool. And, you know, if there's crowds around, probably leashing is better, all the things. But Major loves hiking with me. It's great to have a hiking companion, especially for the Tahoe Rim Trail, right? Like having for 170 miles in 10 days, like having him was awesome, because it was like, I was never like totally alone, which is cool. He is my pandemic rescue, but they are not allowed in the Enchantments. Dogs are not allowed there because of the mountain goats. That's a great point to clarify. And, you know, you can't be messing with like the ecosystems and all of that. So
when it comes to Major, does he have his own backpack that he carries?
He does have his own backpack, yes. Especially for the Rim Trail. Like, I was not about to be carrying his booties and his food and all of that stuff. I had my own stuff. So he did have his own backpack, which is great. Like, they're making them all like perfect for them and everything, and little tiny collapsible bowls and everything. Of course, like the streams and stuff makes it easier.
I feel like some hikers and backpackers have either a summit routine or an end of the hike routine. Maybe it's a favorite snack or meal, maybe some trail beverages, or even just a moment of zen. Do you have a custom that you sometimes do regularly when you make it to your destination or when you make it back out?
One thing that I've really learned for me is like flip-flops, right? As soon as I am done for the day, like I'm in flip-flop mode, even if it's kind of snowy or whatever, something comfortable. That has been a thing for me. Like I've learned to like not hike without that stuff in the car or the pack or whatever. It's kind of become my thing. And of course, like I do love the end of trail celebratory beer. You know, if people aren't drinking or whatever, then I support any beverage of choice. It's a celebration and a cheers moment.
You know, that's one thing I am looking into right now is some sort of camp shoe, whether it's flip-flops. Some people have suggested Crocs, but I think those are too bulky. But flip-flops might be the way to go for cold check.
Flip-flops, and obviously like flip-flops scale in terms of like the ruggedness of them and like whether they're just little beach ones. But that actually can add not a lot of weight if you don't need like a huge pair. I definitely had them in my pack for the Tahoe Rim Trail. Like it was awesome too. I was like, this is my luxury item. This is what I'm taking, and that's how it's going to be.
And talking about pack list, PJ, when it comes to your pack list, whether it's day hikes or backpacking, what would you consider your MVP of hiking gear?
I love my new Osprey backpack that I got for the Rim Trail. It was the Exos model. It was a great pack and very ultra lightweight. That stuff matters, right? You know, as we were talking earlier, your camera equipment and your recording equipment, the weight matters for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing like multi-day adventures like that. So you want to find the ultralight stuff. So that, I think I would say that's for sure one of my favorites right now.
You know, throughout all your hikes and travels, has there been any close calls, whether it's getting lost temporarily, maybe an unexpected wildlife encounter, or maybe just Mother Nature threw you a surprise? Have you had any of those experiences?
One of the days, I'm glad you brought this up actually, one of the days on the Tahoe Rim Trail, like I knew there was a storm coming. I knew all of the things, like it had kind of shown up just talking to other hikers, everything. And like you see the wind pick up and like you're up in the mountains kind of thing. It was day 9 of my trail, and I was like cool. I'm not even having breakfast, packing down the new tent quickly, getting on the trail. And like, I want to get over the pass. It was Dick's Pass in Tahoe. I want to get over it before like the storm comes in. Right. So I was trying to beat the storm. Didn't work. It was interesting. I had gone about 9 miles that day total. Like I was pushing as far as I could. Trail was completely like, it was still snow covered. It was desolation wilderness. So like trail was just like tracks from other hikers at this point from the PCT, etc. Trail was completely washed out. There was no visibility. I had to turn back and like hike down to the other trailhead and have a friend come and be like, nope, I'm off trail for the night. I'll get back on in the morning. And it does happen. And it was so windy. I was up at the summit of the mountain and my pack turned into a sail and launched me 20 feet. Like it was crazy.
Oh
I will always
gosh.
support leave no trace principles, but like my hat and my sunglasses completely flew off downhill, like gone. There was no way to get them. It was wild. And then like there was 7 inches of water on every spot that there was a trail, torrentially pouring. And I was like, this is not safe. Like couldn't use my phone because I did forget a plastic baggie to keep my phone in. And then like, so I had no GPS and I was just no visibility. The only way was like scrambling kind of back down to the lake I camped at and getting back to the trail that way. I could have taken one other offshoot, but then I didn't know the trail and I wasn't on the trail anymore. I'm an experienced hiker. This kind of stuff happens. It was unfortunate, but I was like, nope, I can't. I have to be safe on this when I'm literally like launching because of my pack. And of course, Major was like, this is fun. This is cool. And I was like, oh, dog.
Oh, well, props to you for making the right call and turning back, especially with the weather not being the greatest. How was it the next day?
It was really great, too, because I caught 2 people from the Pacific Crest Trail hike because that section kind of intersects. And I was able to hike down with them back to the trailhead and also offer them, like, they're like, hey, we can't stay here. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it came up. I was like, please come to the cabin, hang out with me. Like, I have a shower. I did not take a shower that night because I wanted to be through hike back on trail, but it was great to be able to help the hiking community as well.
Nice. Giving a little trail magic and being a trail angel.
Little trail magic unexpectedly, even though it was kind of like a weird blip in my through hike. But then I got up and back to the next trailhead the next morning, no shower, all of the things. And then the next morning was actually when I was walking through kind of like the fire scorched areas. So that was hard too, like the emotional hardness of that, right?
Yeah, the fire season and how it changes the landscape is something else. You know, PJ, we're halfway through 2023. Do you have any upcoming hiking goals for the remainder of the year or beyond?
I'm going back to Switzerland. Like, send me all the trail magic vibes. I want to make Switzerland happen this year. I had just planned kind of a Mediterranean trip, not necessarily getting up into Switzerland, but it's pretty close and I've got a couple extra days. So I'm aiming for that. That is definitely a big goal for me, for sure. I have a couple camping spots reserved with friends and we'll be camping out on Baker Lake and all of that stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that and getting my amazing tent out into the Pacific Northwest. I was using the Nemo Hornet, which they've upgraded now to make even more like recyclable and all of that stuff sustainable. So I'm excited to get out there and get back into the tent for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I think you can feel the buzz in the Pacific Northwest now that things are heating up. So a lot of the mountain trails are becoming more accessible.
But I mean, like, while that's true, it's also like, it's a little smoky out today. I'm like,
yeah.
We have to deal with this again. So hopefully that we get some more rain and less smoke this summer.
Definitely. Well, PJ, that was it for the regular questions. This next segment of the podcast is the this or that questions. I'm going to be giving you 2 hiking related topics and you kind of choose the one that you prefer out of the 2.
Okay.
So the first one is, do you prefer ascending or descending?
Ascending.
And how about waterfalls or summits?
Both. Waterfalls.
And how about switchbacks or straight up?
Straight up.
And do you prefer trek poles or freehand?
Trek poles.
And this one's an interesting one because I'm trying to decide for me as well, but trail runners or hiking boots?
I think I would probably go with hiking boots. And I would say, like, I really like the ankle support. So I always have kind of like at least mid ankle support length on the boot.
Yeah, same here. But I know that people, I think on the trail, I'm seeing more and more people doing the trail runners, but I like the ankle
it is
support
definitely
too.
evolving. And I, of course, have some trail runners, but I tend to go for like the more traditional boot for the ankle support. I know there are trail runners too that can provide that, but I'm kind of a hiking boots guy, I think.
And when it comes to your trails, do you prefer a loop trail or an out and back trail?
A loop trail. Like I like having a different view the whole way.
The Enchantments is a good one. Maple Pass.
The Enchantments is a good one for sure. That is probably one of the better ones in my mind.
Now, when it comes to bodies of water, do you jump in or do you stay dry?
That depends on the day. We'll say I jump in, but that's definitely more of a fair weather thing.
And this one's a tough one. Being from the East Coast and now being in the West Coast, do you have a preference between sunsets or sunrises?
Sunsets, 100%, especially living in Lake Tahoe. I've got some great sunsets featured. That was one of the highlights of living in Tahoe for a couple years for me, by a long shot. I was watching sunsets every day.
And this is another tough one. Do you prefer spring flowers or fall colors?
Fall colors.
And then the last one is, do you tag a hike or do you not tag a hike?
I see both sides of this. I will probably tag it like as a hashtag, not necessarily the location always as like a geotag, but I usually try to put it as a hashtag too, just so like I can have the memory of like, oh, this was XYZ trail, right?
Oh, that's a good way of doing it. Well, that was it, PJ, for the this or that questions. It's been a blast talking to you and hearing about all your adventures. For listeners that want to check out your upcoming adventures and some of your previous adventures, where's the best place they can find you on social media?
I mean, it's all my Instagram handle, so it's all going to be linked here. That is my jam for sure. I would love to hear from anyone, and let's chat and let's go on a hike together. Let's make it happen sometime. I'm always down for new hiking friends and new hiking communities. I think the outdoors, everyone should be outside. So let's get people on the trail responsibly and let's do it. Do some group hikes too.
Oh, same. I want to do more group hikes.
And you'll definitely have to, I mentioned the blog earlier, so that's something I'm pretty proud of, detailing out the Tahoe Rim Trail. Look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on that as well.
Where can they find the blog?
I will link to it soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, PJ, for coming on the Hikes and Mikes podcast. Really great talking to you and hearing about your adventures.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time this morning, and have fun out there if we don't get to connect before your Enchantments trip. I'm so jealous that you have the permits.
Thank you, PJ.
Cheers.
And that brings us to the end of this episode alongside PJ. We extend our heartfelt thanks to PJ for coming on the podcast. Make sure to stay connected and follow his adventures on Instagram at pj.forgione. We have an incredible lineup of episodes planned throughout the summer, and we can't wait to share them with you. New episodes will be dropping every Monday, with occasional bonus episodes on Fridays. To ensure you never miss out on any thrilling tales, remember to hit the like and subscribe button. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to join our vibrant community on Instagram at Hikes and Mikes. We'll be sharing episode visuals, my own personal hiking content, and so much more. Let's stay connected and continue to inspire each other on this remarkable journey. As we bid farewell, remember to tread those happy trails, embrace the great outdoors, and keep the spirit of adventure alive. Until next time, my fellow explorers, happy hiking. A special shout out goes to our incredible audio editor, Alex, whose exceptional skills and dedication help bring each and every episode to life week after week. Thank you, Alex, for your invaluable contribution to the Hikes and Mikes podcast. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram at Ketsa Music. This episode is brought to you by Flip Socks. Whether you're on the trail, on the job, or in the yard, Flip Socks will keep Mother Nature out of your boots with their innovative nylon sleeve. You no longer need to worry about any annoying debris getting trapped in your boots during your hikes. Simply flip down the nylon sleeve over any boot to prevent Mother Nature from finding its way inside, keeping your feet comfortable all day long. To get your first pair, visit flipsockswithaz.com and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% 10% off your order. And for listeners who use the promo code at checkout, I'll be donating 100% of the Season 2 promo code proceeds to Big City Mountaineers, who provide transformative experiences through connections to nature that strengthen life skills and build community for youth and disinvested communities across the nation. So if you're tired of bits and pieces of the trail finding its way into your hiking boots, pick up a pair of flip socks today with the promo code HikesMikes10 to get 10% off. For website and promo code, see the episode description.